Hello and welcome to this episode of the Beyond Parenting podcast. I am Sujaya, helping mothers heal their inner hurt so they start to create their desired life. So, in this podcast, let's understand where your reaction or where your response is actually coming from. So, imagine your child has been cranky, imagine your child has been throwing a tantrum, imagine your child has been shouting and screaming and yelling and doing all that stuff that is kind of irritating to you, a little disturbing to you. So, at that moment, when you actually observe what is happening inside of you, there are some bodily sensations that happen inside of you. Maybe you start to feel heavy, maybe your head starts to feel heavy, maybe your forehead starts to feel heavy, maybe your arms start to stiffen up. Yeah, there are various internal bodily sensations that are happening inside of you through which you tend to get your reaction on the outside. So just the matter of fact that the physical appearance of whatever is happening on the outside, meaning on the physical plane the child is shouting and shouting and shouting, and just because that is disturbing you, you may be pushed towards shouting back, or maybe whatever it is, whatever scolding or punishing or whatever it is that you are accustomed to, that you are habituated to while dealing with your child. So that is what happens on the physical plane. On the physical plane, the child is shouting. On the physical plane, you are irritated. On the physical plane, whatever the child is doing is disturbing you. On the physical plane, there is chaos. Let us go a little bit beyond the physical plane on the inside. That is the emotional plane. So when you are looking from a perspective of the emotional plane, the child who's been shouting, the child who seems to be disturbing you, has been carrying some emotions inside of him, inside of her, that is making him or her to shout, right? So on the physical plane, so when you are noticing something on the outside, and when you are limiting your observations to just what is seen on the physical plane, you are blinded from seeing what is happening at the emotional plane of your child. So in the emotional plane of your child, maybe your child was sad, maybe your child was angry, maybe your child was disappointed, because of something that happened in the school, or maybe because of something that happened in the community with the other friends. Maybe your child was blamed, maybe your child was just overwhelmed with emotions. Maybe your child was tired, maybe your child was frustrated, just as how you become tired of your office work. Maybe your child was tired playing something in the community. Yes, so these and much more than these are the emotions that are running inside the child, that can be seen only when you switch your observation from just the physical plane to the emotional plane of the child. So, one of the most important characteristics that a human needs to actually connect with the other person's feelings, to connect with the other person's emotions, so that the way you respond is coming from your true self and not from your egoistic mind that is saying, like, okay, that person is shouting, let me also shout. Okay, that person is louder, let me be even more louder. Yeah, instead of that, how can you respond better? How can you respond from your true authentic self? How can you respond from how do you really want to help your child at that moment? How you really want to help the other person at that moment? So one of the most important characteristics to do this for any human here is empathy. Empathy is the ability to connect to other person's feelings. Yes, at that moment you may be disturbed, you may be irritated, you may be tired, you may be overwhelmed, you may be frustrated, you may be physically tired, you may be emotionally drained. Whatever it is, yes, you got to understand your feelings, but when you are taking a step to connect to the child's feelings, whatever you are seeing on the physical plane, the child's tantrums or shouting or kicking or punching, or whatever the scene that you see on the physical plane, the chaos that you see on the physical plane, will no longer disturb you. You will start to connect with your child's feeling. That is, maybe your child was feeling sad, so you start to empathize with your child's sadness. Maybe your child was angry, so you start to understand why is your child angry? What is actually making him or her angry? Maybe your child was disappointed. So you start to understand, what is it that my child is going through? What happened during the day that my child is going through this emotion at this point of time? And yeah, whatever is happening on the outside. But here the point I'd like you to understand is, can you take a step forward to connect with your child's inside? That's the child's feelings and the emotions. Not just the child, any person that you are actually speaking to. So, for example, just imagine maybe when you were a child during your childhood, maybe your father, your mother, your teacher, or somebody, an adult. An adult has maybe yelled at you, and you are holding a lot of anger against them. Maybe you're still holding this anger, maybe against your father. That, oh my God, my father scolded me, or my father was always shouting at me, or my mother was always shouting at me, yeah, whatever it was. So, when you look at just the parents shout, yes, you may still be holding the anger. But if you actually connect to your parents' emotions at that point of time, you will no longer have the anger towards that person. You will start to empathize with that person. You will start to connect with that person's feelings. Oh my God, yes, my father shouted, but my father was sad because maybe something, a connected incident or experience has happened just prior to the moment that your father shouted at you. Many things happen in life, and everything is connected, everything has meaning. Yeah. So, and then something led your parent to shout at you. But if you connect to the feeling of your parent at that point of time, you will no longer carry that anger within you, even right now, after so many years of you having that experience in your childhood. Yes. Whereas if you're still sitting with that ego mind that, oh my God, that person shouted at me and that is the reason I am like this, or I just can't heal that part of me, that shout will still come out from you when you are parenting your child, and your child and you are in a very similar experience, just as where you and your parent have been in your childhood. Yes, it may seem a little confusing, but just try to understand the correlation that happens between pain bodies, if you may call them so. Yes, so if you are reacting from the pain body, the pain that you have been carrying inside of you, then just understand that it is not the genuine reaction, that is not the genuine response, that is actually coming from your true inner self. It is coming from the pain body. Maybe you are happy doing that at that point of time. Oh, my child has again started yelling. Now this time I'll no more be patient. Let me just let out everything that I had against my child. Yeah, and then you start to say, okay, you've always been this way. You're always shouting. You're never listening to me, and blah 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 blah. Everything comes out. So where is all that coming from? All that is coming from the anger that you are holding towards your past. All that is coming from the pain body that you are carrying since all these years. So when you can actually empathize with the other person's feelings, you are no more carrying the pain that you have been carrying since all these years. As well as when you empathize with your child's feelings, your child's emotions, you start to connect with your child's emotions, you will no more be pushed to shout back at your child. You will no more be pushed to react in a little disturbed way at your child. So, why do I say it is a little disturbed way? Because the reaction is something that came out from you, but after a while, after 10 minutes or maybe half an hour or 1 hour or so, you look back and you think about it, you are actually not happy with your reaction. So when you reacted in a certain way and you're not happy with that reaction, there is something that you need to understand inside of you. That the reaction did not come from your true self, but that's just coming from the ego mind or the pain body or the anger that you are carrying inside of you. Right? So from this moment, make sure whatever is happening on the physical plane on the outside, that is what your eye is able to see. But the meaning which the meaning that the physical experience holds is much beyond the physical plane. It's in the emotional plane. It's where the feelings are being carried inside each of the individuals. So whenever you're speaking to somebody out there, and most importantly to your child, just see what is actually going on inside your child that is driving your child to do this on the outside. Can I understand that? If you can just take one step ahead in this direction, then you can see tremendous shift in the way your child is responding to you, because your child starts to feel the trust that you are starting to show towards the child. Oh, my parent is not bashing back at me, but my parent is connecting with me. That's the trust that you are trying to establish, that you will start to establish with your child once you switch your approach towards empathizing with your child's feelings. So, that being said, if you found this podcast valuable, just make sure you hit the like button and share the podcast, and make sure you register for my masterclass. That's the Awaken Your Inner Intelligence Masterclass, where I help you heal your inner hurts so that you can start to create your desired life. That's a free masterclass. You can just click on the link somewhere down below the podcast, register for the masterclass, and I'll see you inside the masterclass. Thank you. Bye-bye.